Do we have enough materials to build all the EV batteries that are going to be required?
Frankly, no, not right this second. We don't have enough materials in the supply chain to build everything today. So growth has to happen in the supply chain for all these vehicles. A lot more of that investment has to find its way to the top of the food chain to figure out, where these materials will come from, investing in new mines, refining, and recycling.
Right now, demand is outstripping supply 5 years down the road, correct?
That's correct.
How worried are you about it?
Well, I am pretty worried that this could become a bottleneck to electrifying everything that people are hoping to do.
In 5 to 7 years from now, we need to be able to break down materials in the EV space at the pace that they're being manufactured today. So if there's, let's just say for rough math, there's 1,000 cars a day being produced, and there's more than that. We need to be able to recover and recycle at that same rate when those products hit their end of life. And that's just in the EV space. Almost everything has a battery in it nowadays.
Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, we're discussing the multi-billion-dollar battery recycling opportunity, why it's important, and how battery recycling works. We'll also discuss some huge risks that could adversely affect not only Tesla, but the entire electric vehicle industry in the coming years. And we'll discuss the long-term future of the battery and electric vehicle industries. So let's get into the video. But first, hey guys, if you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $250 just for opening an account. And if you fund your account with $100, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $1,600. Unless you don't like free stocks, that is. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
You are looking at bags and bags of depleted lithium-ion batteries. Batteries from electric cars, phones, scooters, laptops, tablets, cameras, you name it. They are flammable and toxic, so they can't end up in landfills. And believe it or not, these old batteries are still filled with materials that are as good as new.
Batteries are amazing that way because the metals and the critical materials inside of them are very highly recyclable. We recover 95, 98% of many of those critical materials like nickel and cobalt and copper. Essentially all of those metals are able to go back straight into reuse again and again.
This is a critically important point with profound implications in the long term. Consider this, if your yield when recycling batteries, if you're getting mid to high 90% of your materials back out and can be reused, you're going to end up in the future with a closed loop system. There'll be enough batteries floating out on planet Earth that we've produced that are in products that are coming to their end of their life cycle, that those materials, rather than needing to mine them and extract them from the earth, can be extracted from existing batteries and recycled and then put into new batteries, meaning we will no longer need to mine. Now, just think about the business, the financial implications here. In the future, if we have a closed loop system and we're no longer needing to mine for these raw materials, which are the companies that are going to be doing the billions and billions of dollars of revenue in the future producing new battery cells? Is it going to be the mining companies getting paid enormous amounts of money to mine those materials that we no longer need to mine? Obviously not. Or is it going to be the battery recycling companies that are effectively obtaining these materials for new batteries? Think about this. There's going to be an enormous explosion in the number of battery cells produced on Earth. It's growing exponentially. At some point when this system closes, the loop closes, no more mining is necessary. All of that foundational revenue in terms of the batteries, the materials, is actually going to be going to battery recycling companies. It's exciting to see somebody with a brain as large as JB Straubel's actually working on this project.
This is JB Straubel. He is a co-founder and longtime chief technology officer of Tesla. He was the mastermind behind many of Tesla's core technologies, particularly around the battery tech. He left Tesla in 2019 so he could focus on recycling all of these batteries. He gave CNBC an inside look at his startup Redwood Materials, where he is already recycling tons of batteries and sending some of the recovered materials to Panasonic so the battery maker can put them right back into Tesla's cars.
We can't just take all these really great minerals and just dump them. That would be criminal. I mean, we have to reuse them.
Straubel started thinking about this massive and growing problem long before he left Tesla.
We started this, because I saw this looming problem from the end-of-life vehicles that we were creating, and starting to have a deep appreciation, back then for the scale of what was coming, and the fact that I didn't see anyone else getting ready for the scale of that problem. The sheer magnitude of the waste and scrap problem and the magnitude of batteries that need to get recycled is, I think, shocking to most people. There's, I think, a really exciting opportunity to link the recycling and solving the end-of-life problem with the supply chain solution, bringing more materials back into the feedstock so it doesn't bottleneck battery production.
Batteries are indeed everywhere these days, and the demand for lithium-ion batteries has risen sharply in the past 5 years and is expected to grow from $44.2 billion in 2020 to $94.4 billion by 2025, mostly due to electric cars. EVs are expected to hit 10% of global passenger vehicle sales by 2025, rising to 58% of sales by 2040.
Less than 60%. I'm dying. Help.
Do we have enough materials to build all the EV batteries that are going to be required?
Frankly, no, not right this second. We don't have enough materials in the supply chain to build everything today. So growth has to happen in the supply chain for all these vehicles. A lot more of that investment has to find its way to the top of the food chain to figure out, where these materials will come from, investing in new mines, refining, and recycling.
We look at the materials that are in cells. These are metals that are very durable, and we took a lot of effort to get them out of the ground. It's not like we have excess supply lying around that we can just pull to make cells from. Our excess supply is in the cells that are basically come to end of life and are ready for recycling. So we would be really foolish if we didn't take advantage of the capacity of older cells to create the next generation.
And a significant shortage of battery materials is looming in the near term for materials like lithium, nickel, cobalt, and copper.
Right now, demand is outstripping supply 5 years down the road, correct?
That's correct.
How worried are you about it?
Well, I am pretty worried that this could become a bottleneck to electrifying everything that people are hoping to do. I think it's going to be a bit painful when all of these factories try and ramp at the same time. And recycling and being able to efficiently reuse those materials can relieve some of the burden on the need for new mines or finding new resources.
Painful is a massive understatement. We already have an issue with enough materials to go in current cells for current demand for electric vehicles, never mind future demand as the costs continue to come down and open these up to more consumers. It is not going to be pretty. Of course, material and supply shortages will affect different companies differently. For example, if there's any companies out there that knew they'd need a shitload of materials to go in the shitload of cells, to go in the shitload of battery packs, to go in the shitload of electric vehicles they'd be selling in the future, I don't know if anyone can help me out in the comments. Can you think of a company that already knew that this would be necessary ahead of time? I don't know, maybe a company that in 2014 announced that they were going to build a factory to produce batteries that once it was complete will produce more batteries than the entire battery industry on Earth was at the time. I don't know, maybe, oh, that's right, Tesla. So keeping this in mind, there's some companies out there, maybe just one of them actually, that had the awareness and foresight to realize they'd need an absolutely monstrous amount of these materials to actually go in their products. This is the kind of company that would have been knocking on the door of mining companies the world over going, hey guys, we'll give you a lot of money and a very long-term contract, 10, 15, 20 plus years, if you can guarantee us this supply around this price because we're going to need everything you can give us. Now, if you weren't a company that made these arrangements and negotiated these long-term supply contracts, you may actually be rather f***ed because you're not getting those materials for the batteries that you need to even enter the market because they're going to this company that had the vision, the foresight, the planning, and has negotiated the supply contracts and also maybe getting into mining themselves. Just saying.
The cost of the electric vehicle is dropping, but it's still dominated by the cost of the battery. And within the battery, the biggest cost are the materials. It's a fairly direct link to say that the way to reduce further the cost of EVs so that more and more people can afford them is to figure out how we attack that material cost inside the lithium-ion battery. And as the demand for electric cars continues to grow, it's going to put more stress on those commodity markets. But our goal is to find a way to decouple that and provide those materials for reuse at a lower cost.
Redwood Materials is in the process of expanding and building new machinery to ramp capacity. Kevin Cassikert, another former Tesla employee, is helping oversee that effort. The first challenge the company faces is gathering all of the batteries.
I like to think of the company in kind of three major groups. One is really collecting and receiving, right, which is what you see here, and there's very safe ways that we do that. The other is more refining, so breaking the material down, taking it from its product that you see into its base metals, right, which are fully recoverable, and then building those back into battery grade products that we can sell back into the industry. But we currently receive about 60 tons a day, so it's about 3 semi-trucks a day, and that's continuing to increase as we grow the business. We'll go through this within a couple of months.
Redwood recycles a wide range of lithium-ion batteries, not just those that go into EVs. It gathers the materials through a series of partnerships with companies like Panasonic, e-waste recycling giant ERI, and Envision AESC, which manufactures batteries for the Nissan Leaf. It also teamed up with Amazon.
Amazon is an interesting partner because they have batteries in so many different areas of their business, you know, all the way from data centers with AWS to the consumer products with things like Kindle. We're discussing with them a number of different projects, but their reach and access into the consumer world could offer some really interesting opportunities.
JB is such a low-key savage. Make no mistake about it. This opportunity is fucking gigantic. Not only is Amazon in the process of electrifying its delivery fleet with 100,000 pre-orders of vans from Rivian, obviously over the time it's going to be many hundreds of thousands more than that. They're going to have a huge amount of batteries that will need recycling, never mind the consumer products. But as JB mentioned there, having this access to the consumer market, there's so much opportunity here. We'll discuss this a little bit more later in the video.
It's been interesting how some of our partners, you know, get quickly kind of overwhelmed by the problem that these old products can create. When these things pile up, they get to be really difficult to deal with. You can't just throw them in the landfill. You can't just shred them. They'll catch fire. Some partners have reached out to us in a little bit of, panic, saying, geez, we need to solve this problem. Can you help?
But beyond its partners, Straubel said the largest lithium mine could be in the junk drawers of America.
There's only, so many geologic sources of a lot of these key materials. And, for decades we've been, digging it up and putting it in products and using it. And so many of these consumer products are just getting locked away, stored in people's drawers, literally at home or in their garage or in a shoebox. And over time, that collection of old consumer products stored up in people's proverbial drawer at home, has become, I think, the world's largest, resource of these materials.
Hold your fucking horses. Okay, I was discussing the enormous potential opportunity a moment ago in terms of having access to consumers, the partnership with Amazon. JB has just mentioned the biggest mine in terms of actual materials needed for lithium-ion batteries is most likely in the junk drawers of America. This is a profound statement. Think about this. Think about Amazon's logistics network. If you live in an apartment complex and you're in the United States and you look out your apartment window during the day, you're likely to see multiple Amazon delivery vans just come into the apartment complex. They have a huge network. Now, what if you could go in the reverse and somehow use this network to actually collect these unwanted goods, old phones and electronics for consumers, bring them back for recycling? Now, I'm just spitballing here, giving an idea of how maybe Amazon's network could be useful to Redwood. But keep this in mind, this partnership could be profound. I'm getting the feeling at this stage that Redwood Materials is a company destined to be valued in the tens of billions of dollars. If they get a stranglehold on the battery recycling market through this partnership with Amazon in particular, that can give them a bit of a leg up. Oh boy, look out.
What do you think most people think? Do they think, I don't want to throw it in a landfill, but I don't know what to do with it?
I do think there's a lot of confusion. There's concern about data. There's concern about just throwing it in the garbage. But there's a lot of barriers to productively recycling it. And the hurdle is so high right now that it encourages people to just do nothing, to hang on to it. But it is wasting an incredibly valuable opportunity and a resource that we can tap into.
Something's definitely brewing here. Don't let JB's low-key demeanor fool you. He knows this opportunity is colossal, and I'm sure he's got a plan to go after it. To get a sense of the size of the opportunity here, let me know in the comments below. Please, everyone watching, I really want you guys to participate in this one in particular because it's going to give us some good information. How many of you watching today have an unwanted phone sitting in a drawer, a desk, a shoebox somewhere, unwanted laptop, or some other electronic device with a lithium-ion battery inside that's sitting around and you know you're probably never going to use it again, but you haven't thrown it out for whatever reason. It's just sitting there wasting away. Let me know in the comments below. I think this is going to give us a good sense of the scale of the opportunity here.
Consumers can help by dropping off their old electronics at places like Best Buy, Staples, Salvation Army, or at their local solid waste authority. Recyclers will pick them up and destroy the data before refurbishing them or extracting materials. Once Redwood receives the batteries, they are broken down and processed in massive machines.
This is one of the machines that we use to separate the different metals away from the batteries. It lets us very efficiently separate nickel and cobalt away from things like lithium.
The final product goes into these bins of raw materials, which will ship to manufacturers. Redwood's techniques recover more than 95% of a battery's nickel, cobalt, aluminum, graphite, and more than 80% of a battery's lithium.
This is one of our finished nickel products. So this is a mixed nickel sulfate product, and you can see packaged and ready to go, basically back into battery cathode manufacture.
This would be the type of product that you would ship back to Panasonic or to some other battery manufacturer. They can now use this.
Exactly.
The lithium-ion battery recycling market is projected to grow to $18.1 billion in 2030, up from $1.5 billion in 2019.
So they're projecting about a $20 billion battery recycling industry in 2030. Now, hopefully these aren't the same people projecting out that in the year 2040 they're expecting less than 60% of new vehicles to be electric. Otherwise, they will be dramatically underestimating this opportunity too.
Recycling batteries isn't just good for the planet, it's also surprisingly good business.
We make margin in a few different places there, and it's really by solving the transport and disposal problems with the batteries initially. And we also take in a lot of consumer batteries, things that used to be in an individual's care, whether it was a scooter or a bicycle or a phone. These things are a bit difficult to handle, and they do have chemical risks and fire risks. So we solve that problem.
You charge customers to solve that problem.
Well, or we are able to basically do that at a low return fee. So, in some cases we're actually paying customers back for the batteries, depending on how much material we're able to recover and resell from it.
And that's my other question. Are you making money reselling materials yet, or is it still in the startup phase where you're not turning a profit?
Well, we're still growing very quickly, so we're consuming capital as we build the operation and the equipment. The most important thing, though, is that the unit operations are profitable. So we're able to, take these input materials, refine them, purify them, and sell them at a profitable unit margin. And that's the fundamentally key thing. It's getting better quite quickly as we improve the technology and scale. That gives me the encouragement that this, is economic today relative to mining, even at this, early stage.
This is an incredibly important and very bullish point. The fact that today recycling materials out of batteries is actually as economical, it's cost competitive with actually mining for new materials out of the earth, refining, blah, 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 is massive, because battery recycling today is just a speck compared to what the industry will grow to. And as you gain scale, your costs come down. We see this with batteries in electric vehicles, and we'll now see this with the materials from recycled batteries as well. Keeping in mind, there's a lag period between when battery cells actually go into products and the years and years later that they actually come back for recycling. So we're not seeing the volume of batteries today that we're actually producing in vehicles. We're going to see that absolutely explode over the next couple of decades. And as that happens, the cost to recycle comes down, meaning JB's business, Redwood Materials, becomes dramatically more profitable, and or they can dramatically lower the cost of recycling.
Recycling is a very sort of unsexy industry that could be very profitable in the future, because of course we need to take those batteries, recharge them, recondition them, and use them again. That's the good news. And there are many companies at work right now to fill that demand.
Straubel says the plan is to continue to improve recycling technology and to create an entirely closed-loop system, so recycling can actually surpass geological mining.
We are, actively, setting up facilities and looking for locations in Europe, perhaps Norway, perhaps Germany, and also some smaller facilities, on the other, corners of the U.S., perhaps Texas, perhaps somewhere in the Midwest.
In 5 to 7 years from now, we need to be able to break down materials in the EV space at the pace that they're being manufactured today. So if there's, let's just say for rough math, there's 1,000 cars a day being produced, and there's more than that. We need to be able to recover and recycle at that same rate when those products hit their end of life. And that's just in the EV space. Almost everything has a battery in it nowadays. And so a lot of that technology is lithium-ion cells, and it all has value that needs to be recovered and sent back into the supply chain.
When I think, about the, maybe distant future, when we're operating as a really sustainable society and economy, we need to be productively unbuilding, everything that we've built.
Just in case anyone's wondering, what the fuck does JB mean by productively unbuilding? He's talking about recycling. It's actually a great descriptor. You're unbuilding and getting out the materials that went into constructing that product. And the key word there is productively unbuilding, actually getting a high yield and it being worthwhile rather than wastefully doing it.
This is kind of the tip of the proverbial iceberg. We're currently recycling, several gigawatt hours of energy storage per year. That seems like a big amount, but it's only maybe 1 or 2% of what's actually being built today. So if you look ahead, we need to be operating at 100 times the scale we are now in just a few short years.
Man, the stock investor in me got very excited hearing that. Let me know in the comments below if you can think of another company that needs to grow 100x in the next few years in any industry. Please let me know your suggestions. I'd love to hear them.
This has to get solved. There really is no alternative. We can't just sort of dump these batteries into the ocean or into a landfill. It just doesn't work. So, I really enjoy working on slightly underdog problems that are not getting enough attention, where with a small team, we can affect a big industry in the future, and we can invent some things that are going to have a dramatic impact on a huge portion of the industry.
The more I think about the battery recycling opportunity, the more excited I get. This is going to be absolutely massive. I would kill for a piece of equity in Redwood Materials. Hey, if anyone's watching who can hook me up, slide in my DMs or email the address on this YouTube channel. I'm not joking around. I would kill for a piece of equity in Redwood Materials. With JB Big Brain Straubel leading this company, and with the awareness of where electric vehicles are headed to in the future, and the head start, and of course the connection to Tesla. Oh, dude. What else can I say? I think Redwood Materials is going to the fucking moon, and I can't wait to watch JB Straubel and the team continue to execute over the next 10 plus years. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Redwood Materials would be a great investment opportunity if you could actually invest in the company today? And also, do you think it's possible in the future? Maybe Amazon acquires Redwood Materials. After all, they've invested in the company, and they're going to have a fleet of hundreds of thousands of electric vehicles, never mind everything else involved in that business that they'll need to recycle. Let me know in the comments below. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $250 just for opening an account. And if you fund your account with $100, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $1,600. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.